Hello everybody and welcome to a new list video. Today we are ranking the campaigns.
This is an old list video, Justin.
It is. We actually, so we did this in 2021. That was the last one. So the most recent campaign.
Years ago.
Yeah, the most recent campaign was Innsmouth. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about that's changed or not changed from list to list. Yeah. Why don't we start with our last one, which is...
We always do. Wow.
Clean sweep. Do you want to start, Travis?
Sure. This campaign sucks. There's too much reading, and the story is incoherent, and the characters aren't compelling, and it feels like two mediocre stories that weren't properly developed mashed together. The concealed mechanic is just so-so. They don't really elaborate on it at any point. And there aren't any scenarios that really... There's a couple of scenarios that were really good on the first play, but don't hold up in replays. Mm-hmm. And then the scenarios that are bad are, like, really unfun. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Shanghai.
For me, I agree a lot with what Travis is saying. It's the open world. I think leads to more FOMO than it actually leads to fun. You know, you get to an encounter and it's like, if you grabbed the red box and you are holding the red box, you get to do this.
It's kind of King's Questy. And
yes, yeah.
Like, did you pick up the pie? Oh, you ate the pie, you stupid idiot. Now you can't progress past this point.
And you're like, okay, I guess I just did this. Like, there were so many locations that you go to and you actually don't get anything.
Yeah,
right?
they're just like, no, you get nothing. You're like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it would have been more engaging if it wasn't that, right? Mm-hmm. I also agree the writing is a little over the top. I've been talking with Eric because
like also like not good.
Because with Eric is we've been reading out loud together while we've been playing, and already in Dream Eaters, Eric is starting to get like, okay, I'm over this, you know, like the
Eric
writing.
Read Edge of the Earth intro.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I'm like, soon, Eric, I'm going to be sending you it in advance, or you're going to be reading silently in your head, so then Eric can skim and doesn't need to actually like read it all.
This is not going to be part of the video.
Yeah. I remember there was a time when I did a Scarlet Keys, and I read the first. So like, there's like the rules for like a news article where if you read the first sentence, you get the gist of the news article. So I was like, I wonder if that works for Scarlet Keys, and it did. And I was like, so then everything else is just like nothing on top of it. Yep. Yeah. And then also, there's really no scenario that is, I think, like great.
Yeah, there's like no scenario in this campaign that I'd be like, that I would choose to play as a standalone. Mm-hmm.
And it's my least favorite finale in all of them. Because there's nothing exciting about it. If it was two scenarios, like if there was a first one where you resolved your bit with the coterie and you actually like got to spend some time with it as opposed to like 4 turns and then you're out.
Yeah, like Edge of the Earth's finale is like tedious and kind of lame, but this one's just like disappointing.
Yes.
Kind of every point.
Yeah.
The boss battle is just RNG, and they build up the coterie members, and then they're like, who cares?
Yeah. Also, there's going to be spoilers throughout this. This isn't like a spoiler-free rank the campaigns. No. If you want something like that, I can do it in the future, but then you only get like my juicy opinion, and who's to say that's the right one?
Is it really juicy if there's no spoilers?
It's true, right? It's just, here's a list, you know? I can make an Instagram post and just put it on that.
Yeah. I think my least favorite thing about this one is like, we got like 2.5 cool ideas, and then we just kind of don't ever develop them beyond the idea stage.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of waste
right? Like, we've got this whole cool, like, people are going missing and no one can remember them.
Yep.
And what's happening? And then we're on top of that, we're like, we got these other guys who are doing a thing, and we got to decide whether we're on their side or not. Yep. But it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Not really. And then we got this like third thing of like collect their powerful items from them.
Yep.
But again, they don't matter.
Yep.
They never matter. They're literally just a switch to be on/off.
That's not fair. Sometimes they punish you for trying to use them.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
There's
It's just like so close.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. There's
so close to being cool, but it's like being like 2 doors down from the party, and like, you can hear it from your room, but you weren't invited, and it's too loud to sleep.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of why this one is so not good to us as a group. It's not just like how it objectively is, but like we can see what it could have been and how disappointing what the actual product is.
If they took like one piece out, right? Like
Yeah.
if they took out like the open world was gone, right? Or like the foundation was gone, right? Or like the fuzz monsters were gone.
Or
Like
even if the coterie was gone, it was just a fuzz monster murder mystery sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like False Hydra sort of game. That would be cool too.
Yeah. It was just it was just a little bit too much like trying something and it just didn't hit.
Yeah. Like I don't mind the open world thing. I think like Feast of Hemlock pulls it off pretty well. It's admittedly not quite so open, but that's just, I think
That's
a good
probably
thing.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's much easier to have like a, would you prefer A, B, or C?
Yeah.
Than it is to be like, well, what do you want to do? Well, you can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I'll go here. You idiot! You went there, you freaking moron!
That
Like,
one
what were you
does
thinking?
nothing.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's like it's an old like DM's lesson. Like, you don't ever present your players with like, what do you want to do? You present them with like, which of these things do you want to do? Like, what are we doing today?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to like argue amongst yourselves for the first hour that we get to play this game.
Oh, that's the best
And then
part.
I was
come
like,
up
oh,
with the
yeah.
wrong plan. Come up with a bad
Yeah,
plan.
you know Bryn is speaking the truth because this is accurate. Like it's
Yeah,
very
I know.
It's how that works, right?
Bryn's saying like arguments for the first hour. I'm like, that's the last time we played D&D.
Yeah.
All right, shall we go to our number 8?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got bad news. It's not a clean sweep again. I'm sorry.
Justin.
I'm sorry. No.
Justin.
I'm so sorry. I'll go first because I'm the odd man out for this one. For me, I put Circle Undone. I'm still not super high on the scenarios for this campaign.
Like, gas you up this week. Don't worry.
I will say though, once you get to this one, these are all campaigns that I enjoy playing. Like, it's my least favorite of like the campaigns that I consider to be playable, right? Like that I look forward to playing in a way. But it just I don't like. I love the vibe, but I don't like the mechanical density of like any of the scenarios. There's none that I look at, like even For the Greater Good, which I really enjoyed at first, is still kind of like sinking for me a little bit. However, on the inverse, the weird thing is that I've been starting to enjoy Pandemic more.
Right?
Yeah.
Really?
I still don't like the scenario, but like I actually look forward to it more than I ever have before, and that's the weird part for me for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
telling you, that scenario is not that bad, man.
It's not that bad. Once you realize that, you just like don't play Arkham, you have to play
Yeah,
Pandemic
once you
Arkham.
come to grips with the whole like
It's not unlike Yithian land.
Yeah, you just have to change the pace for it.
Yeah.
But it's just the one that like there's no scenarios that I'm just like I can't wait to play that scenario. So that's why it's just on the bottom of my
fair.
list. Yeah. Also, like most of these, apart from Scarlet Keys, I'm actually like taking the campaign guide out of it. Because then that's partly why Edge of the Earth is higher for me, because I enjoy the scenarios, but I don't enjoy the campaign guide.
All right. So my bottom two are the bottom two for me because I have a sealed campaign expansion of Scarlet Keys in my house. I've owned it since it was new. I'm not going to open it. I don't care. It's probably not going to happen. I'm not going to play it with anybody who isn't like these two. So
I'm telling you right now, we're probably not going to play it.
yeah. So like whatever. Edge of the Earth I don't even own, and have no plans to actually change this. I do think that Edge of the Earth does a better job of like, here's background characters, care about them, than Scarlet Keys does. But there's, and like, I mean, man, when it's cool, it's cool. Like there's a couple of scenarios in this campaign that I'm like, yeah, this one's good. But there's a lot more of them that are like,
Yeah, like Climb the Mountain. I would, if you guys were like, we're playing Climb the Mountain for fun today, I'd be like, yeah.
yeah, right. Like there's a lot of them that I just don't want to play. I like the going through the door and like getting people to be better. That's fun, I think, but also wholly unnecessary, and you can just like skip it.
Yeah, you could just skip it for sure.
Right. So.
Yeah, the finale for this one is really what kills it for me.
It is
It's so
bad,
tedious
yeah.
and like so bad.
Yeah, that one is definitely a little bit of like you get to what feels like it should be the end of the scenario, and they're like, "Surprise, motherfucker!
Yeah. Climb the
it's not
ramp.
even, like,
Yeah,
hard.
you got to do another one."
Yeah.
No, it just takes forever.
Yeah.
No, it just takes forever.
Yeah, like the individual scenarios for Edge of the Earth are all pretty good. Playing the first one with variable shelter values improves a lot, but like as it is past the first playthrough, it's kind of lame. Loses a lot, despite being, I think, one of the best like initial blind playthrough experiences of a scenario.
Yeah.
To talk about the characters and the writing, I don't like it. There's a little bit too much, not a lot too much like Scarlet Keys. At least the writing in this one has a purpose. I really don't like the resolute mechanic in terms of storytelling, because you want me to care about characters, and so I invest time in them, and the reward is that nothing bad ever happens to them, and the characters who then die are the ones I don't care about, so why would I care about them?
I'm going to just bounce off of this point, because I think that is, like, I like the idea of making them resolute, like, from, like, a mechanical standpoint, like, leveling them up. But I agree, mechanically, like, story-wise, it doesn't really resonate, because exactly what you're saying, anytime you have to kill someone, they say choose a non-resolute person.
Yep.
When they should have you randomly shuffle. If you get the resolute one, you get to read, like, one sentence. Realistically, it's probably 4 or 5, where the person is like, I stopped that. You know, like, I think that would, then there's a reason that, like, they're in there, and then there's a chance that, like, there's actually a benefit to that
or you
as
get
well.
a bigger benefit, like, big spoilers, but there's one, like, scene where someone dies and if it's Cookie, he gets to shoot the guy.
Yeah.
Right? If Cookie's resolute, maybe he's, like, prepared for it, and he, like
takes, like, 3 shots.
Yeah, he gets to unload his clip into him and does, like, 6 damage to it. You're like, that way you still get something for being resolute.
Yeah, yeah.
But also you lose something you invested in.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them having, like, if the resolute one would die, then you get you just get like you mark more damage in their tracker.
Yeah.
So like they start at like 1/1 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like real fragile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could also see, like, if they're resolute, they'd, like, if they die in a scenario or something like that, they just become non-resolute again because they're they like died.
Yeah, they're like, holy shit, did you guys see what freaking happened? Yeah.
But yeah, that takes a lot of the tension out of the story, and a lot of the relationships between the characters don't feel organic to me. They feel very forced. They're all presented like, so all the characters have relationships between each other, but they don't ever develop throughout the story with each other. They're presented with these pre-existing relationships.
Hello.
Hello, Julie.
Hello, Julie.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Julie.
So they have these pre-existing relationships that they tell you about in the intro and when you're talking to people, and then those relationships, for the most part, don't get developed over the course of the story, but also they never develop relationships with anyone else, which is really weird and feels very artificial.
It's kind of like
you're going through these, like, traumatic, like, life-altering experiences, and these people, none of these people are talking to anyone
like
other than the one
Dr.
person they brought.
Malasina never goes and talks to Cookie.
Yeah, she's never, like, talking to Cookie, like, wow, that was, like, fucked up what happened back there. She's just, like, sad because the other person, the other doctor died or whatever.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, like, isn't, and then they're just both happy. Like,
yeah.
And that's it. She's never like, I could really use some time just, like, hanging out with your dog. The kid is like, is that okay?
Yeah. No, that is very fair. Yeah.
Illy is the best one to talk to, though. He's like, drink this, it's made out of brake fluid.
Yeah.
It's true. All right, shall we see our number 7s?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah.
We tried.
Okay, so Innsmouth is, like, easy.
Like, it's easy for the most part.
Yeah. It's
almost too easy.
It's weird because it's hard and then it's easy. Like, it has
you get like one scenario 2-ish of it being difficult, and then it's just like.
It is oddly balanced around how good you are at building level 0 decks, because I bet this campaign is, like, painfully difficult if you're bad at building level 0 decks.
Oh yeah.
And you just, like, biff the first couple encounters.
Yeah.
You never actually get a strong deck together.
Yeah, you never get a strong deck together. You never get experience. You don't take any of the tokens out of the bag. You just eat it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very snowbally.
Yeah, it's just like, not that I don't enjoy playing it, it's just kind of like the parts of this that I find difficult are difficult in a way that I find like stressful and not fun. Because it's just like, cool, so like I know what all of these locations are,
Yeah.
and I've got to guess which ones aren't flipped up yet and where they are, and if they're in the wrong place, I'm just fucked. That's it.
Just do you have a second copy of the Innsmouth Conspiracy?
No.
I guess
When it's repackaged?
Yeah, you should like for the car one, just like tape all the locations like a belt so you can like turn it around the table while you play.
I have a second copy of the car one if you want that.
Yeah, that's the one you got like two.
Yeah, there were two of them that I accidentally bought twice.
Yeah.
So
That's oddly topical.
That's really good. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, it's just like, I mean, as much fun as it is showing up in like Dagon's house and being like, I'm gonna push you down the stairs, old man. And he's like, no, please don't. And you're like, it's too late.
Yeah.
I'm already doing it.
It definitely feels like Dagon should been a bit more threatening,
Like a little
considering
bit.
how prolific he is on
A
the
little bit,
lore
right?
and
Like Dagon and Hydra should actually be like kind of tough to fight as
Yep.
opposed to just like there.
the babies.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so you're telling me I got to do like 15 damage to this guy?
Yeah. Or even
Alright.
like not even like
No
15
problem.
damage. You can avoid interacting them with completely unless like you suck, right? Like they're so easy to just
Yeah,
like
you have to get like
move.
very unlucky
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
to be forced to interact with them. But even if you aren't forced, you can also just show up with a machine gun and be like, I'll kill you.
You need
Yeah.
a mission, they give you one.
That's-
Yeah. A little auto terrain.
Yeah.
For me with Dunwich, I still adore the simplicity of it. There's nothing more exciting than putting the cards down and being like, that's it? You know, like that's all I have to do?
Yeah,
right?
you show
Like,
up to the speakeasy and it's like 4 locations. You're like, yes.
Or you get to the final scenario and it's like put one card into play, and I'm like, what? However, with all that said, it is a little bit
Dated.
not dated. It is like dated for sure, but the word I'm looking for is just like it's like empty. You know, like it just feels like it's missing that little like a piece of it that makes it actually like super exciting to play.
Yeah.
I actually do enjoy the difficulty of it though, because it is like the enemies in that one are actually like scary enemies compared to like some of the enemies we're seeing today, which I really enjoy because it's actually like fun to kind of struggle against things that like unless you build your deck to deal with them, you're going to have issues like the birds, the conglomeration of spheres, just like things that have like 4 or 5 health just printed and there's 2 of them in the deck, you know?
Make book tests.
Yeah, like having to make book tests, right?
I do really adore that about the Dunwich Legacy, that they actually force you to like be able to do more than a single thing.
Yeah.
Well, they don't force you to, but they like.
They punish you if you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
like, sure, you can just take some damage or whatever, but
Yeah, but that sucks.
like, yeah, you don't have to do it.
Yeah. And I always have a fun time playing Dunwich Legacy, but then when it's done, it's just like gone. And that might be because I've played it probably like 30 times now.
Yeah,
You know?
like it is definitely like most played, right?
Yes, yeah. But it's just like it's good but not great, you know, like it's there and we have to appreciate it because it's like Grandpa, you know, he fought in the war for us, he did a lot of good things, but Grandpa's told the same stories many times. We have to pretend it's the first time we've heard them each time.
But he's still pretty cool. Every once in a while, he
I
comes
still
out with a
love
new
my
story.
Grandpa. Yeah.
He's like, oh, the time I dragged my friend in the trenches, and you're like, no.
Like, and an example of that is when we played our draft run and you killed yourself with the card and got the extra victory off that location, right? Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
I mean, there's lots to like about the Dunwich Legacy. Improved tremendously by the Return to.
Yes. So much so that even if I'm not playing it, I play with the patch notes. Right?
Yep.
Like, yeah. Like
Which, I mean, is totally fair. This was clearly... they didn't have the same quality control as they did for a middling period of campaign development. But, yeah, it's good. The concepts are a little simplistic, but it's still fun. Only one scenario that I'm not, like, actively excited to play. And even then, I've kind of come around on them. I don't despise it like I used to, because I've known what true pain is like for some other scenarios. And it's just, you just play. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, let's go to our number 6, which is
All
different. All right, Brew, we'll go
First
left to
one.
right. Keep the Dunwich
Okay.
Legacy talk going, yeah.
Yeah, so the Dunwich
Yeah.
Legacy, like, yeah, it's maybe not the greatest of all time, but I do enjoy the difficulty presented in both like deck building and gameplay. Where like you can't just show up and be like, yeah, so after scenario 2, I'll have these like 12 XP worth of cards in my deck, and that's how my deck works.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
You're like scenario 2, like man, I might be able to buy a 5-costed card, maybe. Which forces you to play the game with cards and in ways that you might otherwise not do, because like a flamethrower is a whole lot better than a 45 automatic in pretty much every possible way. But when you only have 4 XP to spend, maybe 2 level 2 45 automatics are the way to go, because that extra +1 is going to count. Because a lot of the enemies have big, stupid numbers printed on them, and they'll be like, so you got to fight this guy with 6, but also he's got Retaliate.
Yeah.
And he does like 3 damage.
Yeah.
Like split however you choose. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So like don't mess that up. Right? There's a lot of things like that make the game difficult. And like I'm not concerning myself with the not return to version, the base version, because the base version just has a lot of problems that I think they didn't see coming.
Yeah.
Because they also had not been here before.
Yeah.
That the return to address is quite.
Grandpa
quite
comes
nice
back
thing.
with a jetpack.
Yeah. It's like cool. So Grandpa can't jump that high. Like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We gave him a jetpack.
Yeah.
It only works
good.
one time, but
Yeah.
he's only got to jump the one time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like they don't seem like they're a problem. Like maybe having to successfully investigate a location in order to trigger an event, as opposed to discovering a clue from the location and getting to trigger the event.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
Yeah.
That improve dramatically.
Before we move on from Dunwich Legacy, since we're not coming back to it, historically we've always spoken quite highly of Lost in Time and Space.
Yeah.
Like, how do you guys view that one now?
I still really like it.
Which one is that?
That's the final scenario.
Oh, yeah, okay. That
Where you
was
go
cool.
into space?
Yeah. I think it's
I don't know, man.
even though Circle Undone's Before the Black Throne does a really good job of like the space exploration. I think it's more focused on like the dread and randomness of it. I think that like worlds appearing in front of you is better done in Lost in Time and Space. And it also has one of the scariest encounter cards, the one that just destroys your location and deals 2 damage, right? And like that's a card that you need to be aware of or you'll lose, right? And I like that.
Yeah, I know in the past we've talked about how Before the Black Throne kind of eclipsed Lost in Time and Space with its theme and just did better. But the more I've played them both, I feel like there's a definite... They fulfill different rules. And where you mentioned that Before the Black Throne is a lot more chaotic and random. And it feels like a lot more pressured to me. Like you are on a mission to stop Azathoth from eating everything.
Yep.
You have to, like, you gotta do it. Right? Whereas Lost in Time and Space is oddly more relaxed and more scattered. Again, you talked about the locations that just kind of appear out of nowhere. And it is very much more in line with the theme of you just step through a gate and you're like, what are we doing? Right?
Yeah.
And I actually feel like having Yog-Sothoth show up at the start from the Return to takes away from that a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes it a little bit too similar to Before the Black Throne for my taste, but I do think there's definitely a thematic and mechanical divide there that is... It's nice and good enough to appreciate them both. My opinion of Lost in Time and Space improved a little bit, I think, since the last time we talked about it.
Nice.
How about you, Bryn? Any additional thoughts? No.
That's just like it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Um,
Great opinion. I like
yeah,
it.
yeah. Like I mean, like maybe you shouldn't be able to kill Azathoth by just like shooting him 50 times or whatever,
Off, but yeah.
or anyone.
Anyone?
You shouldn't be able to kill anyone.
Except for Yig.
Yeah, Yig's
Except
got it.
Yig.
Yeah, Yig's gotta go.
I mean, like, maybe near left, kind of.
Yeah, because he, like, wants to box. You know, like, he's looking for a fight. And he's like, you beat me this game.
You want to have a shootout? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, but he's also like, I've got 16 other bodies.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay.
So, like, you know, go ahead and, like, do it.
Yeah.
Edge of the Earth for me, as I mentioned earlier, because I've played this one quite a few times, and it gets so much better when you leave the reading and like campaign guide out of it, and you're just like playing the campaign, skimming through, getting to the non-italicized text.
Yep.
I agree completely with what you guys were saying about like the structure and all that, and I do think things could be better. If I was looking at the whole thing, it would probably be swapping this and Dunwich, like the whole thing. I just really enjoy a good chunk of the scenarios in Edge of the Earth. If things like Ice and Death, if Ice and Death had randomized locations, it would be one of the best 3-part scenarios you could play. Right? Like it's so enjoyable. Each one has a different pace. The climbing the mountain one is incredible.
Yep.
I like City of the Elder things. I finally played one of the other versions of it, which was also enjoyable.
That was like a little tedious to set up, but it's
yes,
good.
Yeah. No, that's going back to Dunwich. The thing I do miss is easier setups. They are just getting harder and harder. And I do agree the final scenario frickin' blows. Part 1 is enjoyable. Part 2, not so much.
Play part 1 again, and then also this other thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the ramp, I hate. People in YouTube, they know about it. That my discussion about the ramp. I hate the ramp part of that scenario so much. My biggest pet peeve now is that the final scenarios are now 2 scenarios stapled together. That's been a trend for a long time now, and I want it to stop. That's actually when we were playing our recent run of Hemlock. Spoilers, because that video comes out tomorrow. Was that the final scenario, when our version we played, didn't have a map change. And I was like, we just got to keep playing in this same setup. We don't need to do a switch and set up something new. And that raised that for me, because I hate when there's different setups for the final scenario, but I also hate with the ramp that even if you get a perfect ending, you still have to climb the ramp. The ramp should be punishment. It should not be like the resolution. And it isn't. It's just always there. And
the ramp feels like such, just like they knew what they wanted for the finale, for the last scenario, and then they were like, but we need some other explanation for how they like get out. You know? And I guess they didn't want to just be in the campaign guide, but like, oh, you find a hidden entrance or exit or whatever. They're like, oh, you climb up the ramp, and like,
and I ultimately believe
just like tacked on.
100%. But I ultimately believe one of the biggest things for design in literally everything in the world is that restrictions breed creativity, right? If they had to figure out a way, they should make it so how can I do this, tell this story without doing an entire map switch, it would be better. Because if you look at all the good final scenarios, like there's no map switch. It's either additive or like subtractive, right? Like there's nothing that's just like, hey, get rid of it all and then like do something new.
It's actually the easiest thing in the world. You just have one of the random locations be a resign location.
Like just
that you don't have to have clues on or something. Like it's a caved in door.
Alas,
that's all you had to do.
I'm hopeful that like maybe next campaign won't have it, but it's just been the trend since Dream Eaters now. So
yeah.
I
can talk about Feast first. Yeah, Travis, not Brent. Nice try.
Yeah, I'll talk about Dunwich.
What do you think about Dunwich?
So yeah, I generally like Feast of Hemlock Vale. We're in the stretch
like the
of
honeymoon
campaigns,
phase, as it were.
Well, no, like just these campaigns, the ones that I like, and I enjoy playing.
Okay.
I think because I only played Feast of Hemlock Vale twice, and I have yet to see all the variation between each of the scenarios, day and night, because we've only played that once, I think. Or there's only one of them that we doubled up on.
Yeah, and it was one that didn't have a day or night mechanic. It was bright or not bright mechanic.
Yeah. So I'm cautiously optimistic for that. There's none of the scenarios that I dislike, and there are a couple of scenarios that I do like. The siege one's really good, and I liked the one with the crystallized bodies where there was like the
the bug one.
Stuff. Yeah,
the bug one. Yeah, the bug one was really good.
The minecart's neat. I'm not sure how I feel about the sinkhole one quite yet.
Yeah.
That one kind of went a little bit over my head the first time I played because I didn't need to do anything.
Yeah, we also didn't like really interact with part of the whole
I
scenario.
was just kind of like there.
Yeah.
Like, you killed it. You just killed it. I do like looking at like the storytelling, the campaign guide. I like the
Codex.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. I like that a lot. Similar to the memories in Innsmouth. It's a big plus for that campaign as well. I'm glad they integrate that into it. Being said, I still don't like the amount of reading. I despise the preludes. I don't like having to set up a mini scenario before playing my scenario, and I don't like that it's just glorified reading. It's, in my having done it, it's just the same as the Edge of the Earth intro or Scarlet Keys, where I have to read a bunch of bullshit before I actually get to play the game. And they tried to disguise it, and they successfully got me, like the first couple preludes that I read through, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not actually playing the game, I'm just reading story.
Yeah. Would it, here's a question, would it be more, do you think it would work more for you if there was like, if it wasn't just like take a parlay action, if like you had to like do tests or like do stuff like that, or do you think it's like the whole just concept is too much, just like straight reading with actions in between?
Honestly, I think the only way I would enjoy that would be for it to be an actual like encounter light. Like if they divide the days up into morning, afternoon, and night, you get like a normal scenario in say you get like you have to pick a night scenario, and then you do your prelude either in the morning or the afternoon, maybe, or just the morning or whatever, and then it's just like an actual scenario light where there's actual opposition. I think the lack of opposition is what kills it for me, where there's nothing in your way, you just walk around and you just read.
If there was some encounter deck stuff that kind of like came
even if they're like minor things, like you get to, or if there was some stupid like alternative story card, kind of like they have in some of the standalone scenarios, like the time one. Yeah. Where they're like, oh, there's today the person asked you for help, go deliver these packages before you can parlay to anyone, or some garbage.
Or like even like in Last King and Carcosa, just someone who's like moves around locations and like blocks stuff too.
Yeah, right? like any kind of opposition, because it is just, you're just reading and mulliganing, and that's all you're doing. And I also don't like the day scenarios are already easy, and these just make them easier, and I think that's like a joke. Yeah. So I'll
wait till we get to my part to talk about the preludes too. But yeah.
Well, I also want to talk about the finale real quick, because we just talked about that for Edge of the Earth. I kind of like the Void deck. I liked it a lot the first time, but I was like not certain about it, because it might just be like, oh, this is cool, and sometimes things that are cool are not cool after you've done them 5 times. Yep. The second time it was still kind of cool, but it was a lot more trivial.
Yeah, my deck like roasted it. Like my deck was built to game that, and I didn't even realize
the game already rewards you for like having high skill values and like just trivializing a large part of a final. The cool part of a final scenario like that is kind of meh to me. I do also wish that there was a little bit more direction in how to get the endings. Yep. Because I think there's 4 different endings that you can get. 4 different versions of the final scenario, but there's like very little indication of what they are. Like, because one of them you have to have River and William like making up. But there's not really any indication that you should do that. They're just like, these people are fighting, whose side you on. Yep. One of them is one of them's the firecracker one, which is like that one's pretty. You set the firecrackers and they're like, you want to light them? Yeah. One of them's like the generic one that we got, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that one's probably the easiest one to hit, just passively. Yeah. And then there's the one that you have to reunite the families, the Theo Peters and... Yeah. Yeah, I think that one also works for the Hemlock one. I think, like, there's some that maybe trigger multiple.
Maybe. I thought that those were 2 separate ones.
They might be. I don't know.
I think I remember seeing them differently. Maybe it was just the story thing that was different. But anyway, I wish there was, like, a little more indication of which characters were actually important and led to different endings.
Wait, you're telling me Judith doesn't lead to a separate ending where we shoot the color out of space with a gun?
It might. Who knows?
I mean, they all kind of do that. Yeah. You can.
While we're on the topic of the finale, one thing I have enjoyed in our 2 plays of it is that the doom clock feels incredibly tight. Like, even like when the first one, like, you had to go into god mode because you were suddenly like, oh crap, like I need to like do all these things, and you took like a million actions to do it. But even in that one, when we got into that big advantage, we were getting close and we were like even though we won, I feel like it actually was closer. And that might just be because like we were slacking, or it could just be because like things are harder and the time is tighter. So I'm curious to see how that evolves.
I do generally look at the scenarios. I think the encounter decks have an appropriate level of difficulty for that one. So that's not a plus for it.
All right, should we go to number 5, which is
Wow.
Should I go first?
Yeah.
All right. I think so.
It's a trash pain, by the way.
Which one?
Yours.
Whatever it is.
So this is now where we're getting to the scenarios that I think are all like really good to great, right? Like we get to this one. My problem with Forgotten Age, a lot of my old praises still stand, and I'm gonna like copy paste your guys' stuff because it's like when we get to your guys talking about it.
Yeah. Okay.
But all my recent plays of this, the Boundary Beyond, Heart of Elders Part 1, Heart of Elders Part 2 has never hurt more. And I'm like, that like is such a black spot in an otherwise like really good campaign that like while I was making this list today, I'm playing Dream Eaters with Eric. I'm having such a great time, right? So it beat that, right?
Yeah.
Hemlock Vale is one of my favorite blind plays we've done since Dream Eaters, so like that's going to be high on my list. Carcosa is still, there, and it just started to slip down just because of that one spot of it. I love the structure of the campaign in terms of like the 2 stories. I think I'm also honestly sick of having each campaign have 2 sides and you have to choose one of them. Please let that stop. Like, I'm tired of it. Please no more.
Can we just show up to like the Dunwich Legacy and they're like, monster bad.
Yeah. Like just like give me like just like a narrative.
There's cultists, go stop them.
Yes,
like,
yes. But this is the best version of it, right? Like the Ishtaka Alejandro thing. With the headcanon in my head that Alejandro was a Yithian the whole time is also
he's just a terrible racist.
like that makes Alejandro's side like a reason to pursue it to save him for me now. So like the narrative of that is more enjoyable.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like as a explorer, like a historian, whatever. What's the word for a person who digs up old stuff? Archaeologist. As an archaeologist, why wouldn't he want the relic to be taken to the museum? Why wouldn't he think that's the safest place for it? Because he's a Yithian and wants to take it.
Yeah. The other thing that brings this one down for me, even though I just don't like the final scenario. I don't think Shattered Aeons is like an enjoyable scenario to play. Part of that stems from our grind where we played it a million times and I still have those memories for it.
We were also doing that like terribly wrong.
We're terribly wrong, yeah.
And it is so much easier than that.
But it's really...
That's our bad.
Yeah, we should have read the cards. Reading the card explains the card. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah. But really it all comes down to Heart of the Elders, I think, is the worst ARKHAM scenario. Because every other bad ARKHAM scenario, you play it and you're like, it's done. And I'm free. I don't need to play it again. And then you're like, wait a minute, there's part 2, which is
quit.
like... You could just quit. You could just quit.
You can just quit now.
It is also one of the few campaigns recently where I've just like, maybe I just like stop playing it. So it's just like one of those things where I haven't, and it's really just that black spot. But you get out of that black spot, you get City of Archives, which I like less than I did previously, and Depths of Yoth, which is still a goated scenario that is hard to beat. But
yeah.
I also don't like the first 2 scenarios that much, but like Threads of Fate is really good. So it's like one of those things as a whole, it's really enjoyable, but just all my most recent experiences have been more enjoyable. So while I still think it's like great, it's my like lowest of great.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right, Circle Undone.
Yeah, this is my lowest of great. Well, I really like the lore behind it. I was just thinking about where I wanted to start.
Yeah.
I really like the lore behind it. Pretty much every time I play it, there's something neat that I notice that I didn't in previous playthroughs, like a little nugget of information or a little nod or reference to something else, to a story that I notice.
Mm-hmm.
I like the themes that are pervasive through it. I think it's like... like from a literature standpoint, as weird as to say, it's one of the most well written campaigns. It's not nearly as pulpy as a lot of the other ones, like the Forgotten Ages, for example, which does have a good story, but it's a very different kind of story. Not a fan of the two. I mean, on one hand, I do like the opportunity you have to side with the Silver Twilight Lodge, and if you go all in onto it, they just win. I do like that. It is lackluster in a gameplay from a gameplay perspective, though. I think it takes away more than it offers from a narrative perspective in that, so loses points there. Looking at the scenarios themselves, the Prelude sucks ass again. Wow, imagine that.
I think it sucks a whole lot less if you don't have to build the decks for it.
Agree.
Yeah.
Which I think you don't need to do anymore. Because I think I don't know if this is 100% because I haven't bought it, but I think the campaign expansion now comes with those cards.
That'd be
Just
nice.
like, yeah, that.
Like, it's nice in that it provides a backdrop for the story, but once you know what the backdrop is, I don't feel like there's any reason to ever play it again.
It's like real quick.
Or you can just, it's even quicker, just like roll the dice or whatever. But,
Yeah.
anyway, we can argue about that after this video, whether we're going to play it or not.
Oh, no, I've already rolled.
Okay. Nice. Get Rick Red. The first scenario is good. Second scenario is good. Which one's is the third scenario the
Rats.
graveyard?
No, third scenario is rats.
Rats are good.
Fourth
Rats is
is-
really good. Fourth is the graveyard one. That one is the only really bad scenario, I think. And even then, it's not awful.
Yeah. I mean, I like how hard it is to get like a not trash ending out of that one. But I don't like how the hard part is like, did we guess right? But that's a recurring thing throughout the whole.
Yep.
There's a lot of different.
There's a little bit of RNG that makes this campaign a little. I mean, that's why it's number 5, not higher. Partially why it's number 5, not higher up. Pandemic is fine. Invasion of the Silver Twilight Lodge 1. That one's good. For the Black Throne is. It has its issues, but it's still incredible to play every time.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Like I'm aware of the issues. I shouldn't speak for you guys, but like, and sometimes they're frustrating, but the enjoyment I get from playing that and wonder I get from playing that scenario always eclipses any frustration I have of it. And like the sense of accomplishment from actually winning is like.
I'm just thinking, so for people who are watching, we are starting to record our draft run of Circle Undone today. And I was just like, my combat choice is Wither. I cannot deal with the mindless dancers.
That's what was intended for you to use, Justin, in this campaign. You'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
They're a lot easier to fight when they only have 4 health.
No, Father Mateo's going to be dead by then anyway,
Oh,
because
okay.
I got the Doomed, right?
Right,
so,
yeah.
like,
Yeah. And then I like the mechanics of this campaign a lot. I like the fate mechanics with the damned card. What's it called?
Fate of All Fools.
Yeah, Fate of All
yes,
Fools.
Fate of Fool,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I think that card is excellent. Encounter card design, both the base and the return to ones. I really like the sets of 3s, the cards that care about showing up in 3s. Though I do wish that if they got cancelled, or they got shuffled into the deck or something like that. It's a.
It does make Ward of Protection much stronger than it should be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be better.
Yeah, those cards are already good enough as they are.
Yeah.
It would also really emphasize, having them do that would really emphasize the sort of impending doom that the campaign puts over you, where you can put it off, but it's still coming. And then the Nameless Mist is a really interesting enemy, I think, in a lot of the scenarios it's in. And while it does occasionally devolve to someone, we don't have a plan for that.
I have a Miss Sabrilla.
That's great.
Yeah, I got a Shroud of Shadows. 'cause
Okay,
I'm in
we're
the
golden.
artwork.
We're golden.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The choice to include that in the campaign, I think, was a really good choice, both narratively and mechanically, and really pushes that mechanical identity of inevitability that the story has.
I mean, like, you are 100% right that this is probably, like, this and Carcosa are the best, like, using the theme in the mechanics of the campaign. Because you're right, like, the fate, the sets of threes, all that stuff, it does really resonate through the design. Yeah.
Yep. And, I mean, the couple of the scenarios are a little bit of misses. There's some points in the campaign that feel too RNG dependent, and the story is, like, a little bit obtuse in some points. It definitely has its downsides, but I like this one.
Yeah.
And I've talked for 5 minutes, man. What you like?
I like how difficult this one is without feeling like complete bullshit when it's hard. Except sometimes in like Before the Black Throne where you guess wrong like 4 times and you're just like, yeah, all right. Anyway.
You just gotta be a better blind idiot.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And like that is kind of like his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I do enjoy how the encounter deck actually makes you afraid of some of the cards that are in it.
Yep.
Such as the Realm of Torment. That card sucks so much.
Yep. The one where the Spectral Watcher just like comes and hits you.
Yep. Yep.
That card's insane.
And there's a lot of good stuff. I like how they make spells and relics more important because you're like fighting ghosts, right? Like bullets aren't going to do anything to them, not really. Yep.
It's the magic bullets.
Unless they're magic bullets. In which case, well, they're magic bullets. So that works on everything.
Yeah, it's just smear through bucket of holy water, pour it out. You're just like every shooting through the waterfall of holy water.
We don't have a holy water item, do we?
No.
We got to get one of those.
One day.
One day. Yeah. I just I don't like how you can kind of muddle through the story and get nothing. I would like them to kind of force you to choose a side a little bit earlier, so then you kind of do see a little bit more of what's going on, as opposed to just like, man, these Silver Twilight guys really hate them witches, hey?
I think they do kind of do that from a perspective. They just don't.
Just like not early enough and not at a point.
It is like, very early. At the very start of the campaign, you talk to that castle, and she asks you to embrace
she's
full
of
fate.
Shit. But
she asks you to pick a side, and then the way you muddle through it is if you don't commit to it.
By the way, I chose to reject the fate because I assumed you didn't want the Ace of Rods in your deck.
No, I want it.
You want it?
Yeah.
Okay. We can go back. I can make it work.
I didn't bring it, but I forgot about that. But yeah, I want it. I want it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We need to do that one.
I think this one's just kind of good.
It is good.
Yeah.
I will say this is one of the ones where the Return to does not offer a ton.
I actually really like the Return to.
Really?
Because what I like about the Return to for this one is that you basically can, like, the flavor of the encounter deck stays similar, but the threat it provides you is different, so you actually can get, like, a different feeling for how you want to be threatened.
That's fair, but it's not that it doesn't do anything, but it just provides a different experience.
Yes,
it doesn't improve the campaign like the other ones did. And part of that is just because of their design experience.
I think also this one is like it's pretty solid like as a whole. There's no like glaring issues that like can be fixed with a Return to, right? So like it's a different approach.
Yeah, there's just like a little bit of extra content and some alternative stuff was basically what it was.
All right. Let's go to our number 4. We're almost at our top 3 at 48 minutes in. All right.
Jesus Christ.
Whoa!
Oh, we did it!
Wow!
How did that happen?
Wow! I didn't even realize 4 all Dream Eaters.
Yeah, these are the best ones. We don't have to come back.
Yeah.
Everything about this campaign just kind of feels fun. Every one of the scenarios is like, yeah, I would like to see more.
Yep.
We don't have time because there's only X amount of Doom to play with here, and we gotta pick up part of it to do probably. I don't like how weak Atlatch Natcha is, but that's like, whatever.
It's still, I think that Latch Natcha makes up for it in like the coolness factor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unlike Dagon and Hydra, where they're like not so cool, but Atlatch Natcha, you're like, oh.
Yeah, and like is not really the last boss anyway. The last boss is like actually really, really hard because you have about 2 turns to kill him, and he's got like a jillion health.
Which Eric has put us on the path to, and I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no. And I'm playing freaking Winifred.
No, you got this.
Yeah, just like build some sort of sawn-off shotgun deck.
Yeah.
Throw all your cards at it, and then like don't draw the auto.
Don't know if
Don't
that's always really play money.
Yeah.
This one is one of the best blind plays, and I recently like before this, like back in 2021, one of my biggest criticisms was that it's a bit too linear, right? Like all this, like most of the scenarios, you're like walk down this line and then get there. However, playing it with Eric reminded me just how fun it is when you don't know what's happening, and like I was like, okay, so this is why like it elevated for me, right? Because it's so cool. Like there's so many cool things, and I think every scenario, even the one I don't like, which is with the unnameable, there's a cool part of it. It's like there's a cool hook in like every scenario, which is kind of like all you really want in a campaign, right? You want like each scenario to have a cool hook, and it wants to be fun. I also like that you only play your deck for 4 scenarios.
It's a nice change of pace.
And I also don't mind building 2 decks because you get to try out more ideas.
Build 2 decks.
Yeah, you get to play more ARKHAM.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a little tight if you're playing with one collection and 4 people, but that's
more
just,
fun.
That's just like part of the
The challenge.
part of the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm really impressed about with the Dream Eaters is despite that there's almost no like built-in replayability in the scenarios, it's still fun and feels fresh to play pretty much every time.
It's just because like the scenarios are all good, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just like like it's you don't need to like there's it's not like there needs to be any like patches to fix because it's just good.
There's nothing to fix, like even the Search for the Calf, like I know what's in each place, but I'm still like I want to go there and explore.
Yeah, we get there and the beans of Ib, and I'm like, they're so cool. And then Bakrug, wow!
Yeah.
Like I still read the flavor on the other sides of them because they're cool. Like it's just fun.
Yeah, I know what's in the Enchanted Forest, but I'm like, I want to go explore the Enchanted Forest and see the Zoogs.
When are we gonna do our not stray from the path run? Are we ever doing that? I think like I hope not, but like.
Oh, we'll see how it.
I'd rather do it with you guys than two-handed solo by myself.
It's gonna be so good. We're just gonna have like 2 scarecrows, like, and Justin will be like, "We're not straying from the path," and we won't even be here.
Yeah.
It'll just be like,
Can enemies spawn on you in it? Because I'll take it in the thick of it. Barricade 3, we never leave. No enemies get spawned. It's perfect.
man.
All right, I think
I do enjoy even like some of the stupid little like. Are you on the cat's side or the Zoog's side? And then like if you get to the end of the campaign and you get a winning result, if you're not on if you're against the cats show up and they're like, "Did you think we would just let you leave?"
Yeah.
Like, and then they kill you.
Yeah. There's like the Ghoul Gang.
The
Eric
Ghoul Gang
getting
is
the
so
Ghoul
much
Gang
fun.
and as Charlie and being able to be like, are you voting for me? Get on in, right? Like there's just so much and like the 2 final scenarios, each are like a video game boss battle in a different way, which is like just a huge success.
Yep.
Yeah. Probably like my personal 2 favorite final boss fights of all the boss fights because they're just like cool and like also mechanically simple as well. They're not that like moving the big spider, but like as you said, like the cool factor is just like
who cares? It's a huge spider, man.
Yeah.
Spider Woman.
Yeah, I don't actually have a second copy of that, so we can't like.
Oh, get the lazy
Keep
Susan.
it to a boy.
Just,
In the wheel.
Yeah.
That would actually be so good if you had like a little ticker thing.
Yeah.
Slow it down.
All right, should we get to our top 3?
Yeah.
All right.
This video is long enough.
Bryn.
oh yeah, okay, we got the Forgotten Age. I just love killing Alejandro so much. That guy sucks so hard. I like how difficult this one is. I want the game to feel hard because at the end of the day, if we're playing a cooperative game and I never lose, like man, I could do something else, like anything else really,
Whispered Island.
or sleep or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Eat lima beans. I don't know.
lima
like-
beans are great.
Oh, okay. I hate them.
I like all food though.
But yeah, like, you know. So the difficulty is something that I appreciate, and like even just like the little pieces of like try not to get poisoned. This like encounter card shouldn't matter, but like
It does sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't let it though.
Yeah.
I just think that's fun, even if your plan to deal with some of them is like, well, I paid this guy to come out here and work for me, and his job is to get bit by a snake.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, there's a lot of
Sometimes know it,
times.
but-
Sometimes, yeah, he doesn't know it yet
Yeah.
because like I'm not paying him enough for this.
Like bouncing off what you're saying for the difficulty, one thing that I like about this one as well is that there's like with this ally, this guy who's here to get
Yep.
bit by a snake, there's so much counterplay for the threats you do face. Like in Doom of
Oh, yeah.
Etsley, there's so many tricks to just be like, see ya, you know, like I think that's really cool.
Yeah, like if you've planned for it, most of the scenarios are pretty okay as long
Yep.
as your plan is like executable and in fairly short order, because you probably don't actually have that much time to get it up and running.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I just think is good. I think it's a good place for it to
agree.
exist.
Mhm.
Yeah, the whole Yig fight is like, whatever. I don't like. Probably shouldn't be able to kill an old one by like running into it with a truck or whatever. But I suppose, classically, that is a good way to do it because like they beat Cthulhu by running into him
With a boat, yeah.
Boat.
I mean,
So
like,
like it's
You
not.
didn't like really killing them either, right? You're just like,
He's like, that hurt my stomach, I'm gonna go back to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna go back
Yeah.
from now. I'll be back in a couple more years.
Yeah.
All right, Travis, you want to start Innsmouth?
Sure. I like Innsmouth.
Me too. All right.
Yeah. This one gets a little boost for me because I love Innsmouth as a setting. And I think they do quite a good job of making the first couple scenarios feel like Innsmouth. I'm going to back up a little bit to talk about, I remember how the time thing works. I don't like that.
The weebly wobbly
Yeah.
timey-wimey.
Yeah. I like the concept. I just don't think they did it in the best way. And it's fine if you're playing the scenarios in a short period of time. Like, the story's nice and coherent when we're playing it over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. But if you have to play it as each Mythos pack came out, it was hard to tell what was happening. That was a little rough. But yeah, back to how they represent the town. It was nice to have the sort of startling pit scenario where you wake up and you're basically in a hole and you're drowning and you need to find your way out. And then you get to go back to the start of the story. I just wish that you got to see more of that story before you came back to the present. If instead of like 1 2 1 2 1 2,
It was like 1, 2.
it was like 1. It was like 1 2 2 2 2 1 1 1. Like, you got to see the entire story up to how you end up in the pit, and then you played out the rest of the campaign.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a lot neater, and it would have made the experience feel a lot less awkward as well.
Actually, that would be pretty sick, because then, like, in scenario 4, you're, like, doing Lair of Dagon, you see Dagon, and you're like, what the frick? And then you don't see Dagon again until, like, 4 scenarios later. That is...
Yeah, and you're like, we gotta go stop Dagon.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't remember what's going on with him, but, like, it's gotta get done. Yeah, the Cluedo one is almost good. I don't mind the clue mechanics. I don't like how you can miss the second half of the scenario. That's bullshit. But the actual playing the scenario itself is pretty fun. I just wish you got to play the second half and then something bad happened instead of not playing it. Yeah. The memories were really good, like I mentioned, for Hemlock Vale's Codex. What comes after? The key mechanic was really good. I like the key mechanic.
Honestly, I think this game would be better if the key mechanic was in the core set. If they had like a tool, like they had a variable to play with from like day one. The key mechanic is really good. I also like flooding.
Flooding's neat, yeah. A little bit fiddly, but good. In Too Deep's a really good scenario. One of the best in the game, probably. Lighthouse scenario is really good. The car scenario, I'm not personally a fan of it, but I recognize that it's good for what it is.
I mostly just enjoy how like Wendy Adams is one of the best drivers, but she's like fucking 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so when you push on the block on the left,
Yeah.
car goes slow.
Yeah. She like can barely reach the pedals or whatever.
Yeah.
The block on the right,
Yeah.
well, that's so you can reach the gas pedal, I guess.
Yeah. In general, scenarios for this one are good.
And you can tell my thoughts about it are like a lot less coherent than the other campaigns, partially because I haven't played it in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But the only real sour spots for it, I think, is, again, I'd prefer the time mechanic was different. I wish the final scenario and the Hydra and Dagon representation were better.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it, I think.
Yeah. I agree with you, Bryn, that this scenario is, like, once you get past In Too Deep, you're basically, like, coasting until the end. It is on the easier side, for sure. But the thing that makes Innsmouth so high for me is that I just think, like, the scenarios themselves are just super enjoyable. As Travis said, In Too Deep is, like, it's, like, goated. Like, I could play that one, like, 3 times in a row.
It's like,
Like
easily top
standalone,
5.
right? Like it's just like it's just like such a enjoyable experience because it is like it's like one of the few scenarios where you're suddenly fine. You're like, hey, everything's going good. Then suddenly there's like 20 fishmen. You get dragged back into the fishbowl, and like you're like, okay, we have to solve this problem.
As we solve all problems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with dynamite, exactly. And you're just part of you're just collateral damage. The final scenario, while lackluster, I still think is an enjoyable scenario to play because like you get to set up the turret. There's a lot of like fun in jokes. I also am not a big fan of the car, but it's grown on me from like the thematic stories that are told by it. Like the last time the three of us played together was our all survivor run, and I was just Will York in my own car, and just so much bad shit was happening to me, and it was just like it was just like a perfect representation of like what ARKHAM can do from like a storytelling if you're just given like even just rails to play on. It's just like it's a really good scenario-wise campaign, so that's why it's high for me.
One positive about the final scenario I'll say is it does the map change thing really well.
Yes.
Like no complaints about it for that one, where you explore the entrance to it, and then it's like a grand reveal to this huge structure where Dagon and Hydra are sleeping, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like they nailed it on that one.
I was gonna say. Oh, I also don't like the time. I agree. It could have been structured better. Like I always say that like I'd rather them try things than just like do Dunwich over and over and over again. But it just means that the train is sick. But it just means that then when like there's going to be criticisms, and like that's just the criticism for it. I think it missed more than it hit because it doesn't really like narratively work, right? Where you get it. Like I understand why they did it after the first scenario, because you imagine like you finish the first scenario and like you don't get to upgrade your deck until scenario 3, right? But like suddenly like why is Leo DeLuca level 1 here or like something like that when he wasn't here before, right? So there's a little bit of dissonance there that I think if they structured it at 1, you find all your stuff that you like. You won, you do then 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. After that 2, it's like you got out of the pit of despair, and then here's all of our junk. You know, like that's like,
that works so well for the story too. You just come out of the pit of despair, and then you get to go flashback to like arriving in Dunwich and talking to the seemingly normal people there, finding out there's been kidnapping and stuff. And I guess you knew about the kidnapping, that's why you're there. But investigating that, and then you get to what's the second one of that?
Of the
is it the drive to the lighthouse?
Nope. Because Drive to the Lighthouse is, I think it's Devil Reef.
Devil Reef, right. So you go in Devil Reef, and there's like a big scary monster that you fight.
Yeah.
And then
you do Lair of Dagon.
Yeah. You find out that there's like, oh man, this place is full of fish people, and then you get dumped in the pit, and then you come out, and then you have to pick your way through the city full of fish people and In Too Deep.
Yeah.
You drive to the lighthouse, and then you go down the lighthouse, and then you get the final scenario.
And I mean, it also is such a wet fart going from the lighthouse to Lair of Dagon to the final scenario. The lighthouse has player elimination as the penultimate scenario. I think should always have in this game, right? If you fail that one, you shouldn't be able to make it to the last one. And it feels a little bit weird to go from that scenario to like Lair of Dagon, which is like I think the weak scenario of the campaign.
It's also super weird to go from that one where you can die in it, because then how did you do the other ones?
Well, no, because that's the one that's so that's the last of the time, like of the future, the lighthouse. That's the one before you go to it, right? So like step 1 is Cluedo.
Yeah.
Then you do Devil Reef.
Yeah.
Then you do Lair of Dagon.
Lair of Dagon's when you can die in, right?
No, you can't. No, you could die in Light in the Fog.
Oh,
yeah.
Light in the Fog. Never mind that.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying Lair of Dagon. I was like, yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah. No. It should be like that one because that's the penultimate, but it's not. So they should have just swapped those.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our number 2s. Travis, why don't you start?
Okay, I like the Forgotten Age. There's lots of things to like here. Pretty much everything Bryn and Justin have said about it holds true for me as well. I really actually enjoy the jungle theme for the first 2 scenarios. I think that and then coming back to ARKHAM for like a soft reset point, and then you get to go through ARKHAM and explore the town and people's motivations and stuff. I think that's really neat from a narrative perspective. And it's something that I miss a lot in the layer scenarios is that expanding the story throughout the scenario, instead of just reading it happening, like you are enacting it, and you get to actually like pick which parts of the story you're engaging with, and like not just like you do get to pick that. And for example, in Hemlock Vale, when you're talking to the people, you choose which people whose relationships you want to develop, but it doesn't feel like you earn it, right? You're just like going through a list, and you're like, oh, I guess we'll talk to this person this time, right? Instead of having to, which of these can we realistically do? What do I think I can accomplish this time?
Oh no, they kidnapped Alejandro. Send me some of his toes or something.
To go off this point, it is I think, a success for this one because like the whole earning Ishtaka's trust is all done entirely through gameplay.
Yep.
Right? Like every step of it, you need to do it in actually like succeeding in the scenario, which is why that should be like the gold standard. I do agree with that.
Yeah. And same thing I think with retaining the Relic of Ages. I think the only time you like lose it outside of
Is when she steals it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of a scenario. Even the black spot that Justin talked about with Boundary Beyond and what's everyone's
Heart of the Elders.
Yes, thank you. Heart of the Elders Part 1. Heart of the Elders Part 2 is fine. It's whatever. The only reason that scenario is tedious is because it comes after Heart of the Elders Part 1.
Yeah.
If it was its own thing, it would be totally fine, I think. Heart of the Elders Part 1, the Return to gives you a way to skip with it, so I am significantly less salty about that scenario. Still not great. It's still not a scenario that I'd be like, I'll play this for fun. But when it shows up, I'm just like, I'll play it till I stop having fun. Boundary Beyond is a huge kick in the teeth. It is extremely difficult to do well in. Like every time I go into it expecting to lose horribly, and I do almost every time.
Yeah.
But when I don't, I'm like, it feels so good.
Boundary Beyond is definitely like I go into it and I'm like 6?
Yeah.
Man, like maybe 2. And then I get out of it and I'm like, oh, we didn't even get 1.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually have had a
picked up trauma.
big perspective shift on Boundary Beyond where it's made me do better when I realized the goal is actually 3. Because then you earn Ishtaka's trust, like she's like, wow, you guys are really cool. But then you also probably only have to play Heart of the Elders once.
Yeah,
so like
maybe twice.
it's one of the like you get a bad mulligan or like a bad encounter cards. Suddenly it's like, wow, it's doable. It's like this, like you just take from 6 to 3 and you're like, I can do anything now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like as a bad scenario, it's still fine because there isn't really a punishment for failing it. Ultimately, especially with the ability to skip Heart of the Elders Part 1.
Now there's no punishment now. Before it was like enjoy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And like the high points of Forgotten Age are really high. Depths of Yoth is so good. Again, like another top 5 scenario in the game. Euthians are good. Like I said, the first 2 scenarios are good. Third scenario, the Exploring ARKHAM one, is very, very good as well. Well, Shower of the Aeons is fine. It's a little bit awkward if you haven't been like picking up on the story cues throughout the campaign. A little bit abrupt, where all of a sudden you have these 2 competing sides, and they're like, I'm actually a snake person, or like I'm actually a Yithian guy, or like I'm actually like an ancient sorcerer or whatever, and you're like, wow. Where's that one going?
Holy shit.
I do appreciate the difficulty in it and the way that the map gets split into 2 as well. The dichotomy of it mirrors the the campaign itself very well, I think. As well as I like exploring the different worlds. I think that's fun.
Yep.
And you don't see that in really any other Arkham scenario.
Just Secret Name.
Secret Name, yeah, where you actually go to, there's like gates that go to other worlds. It's really evocative of like Eldritch Horror and Arkham 2nd Edition, and I like that.
Yep, definitely.
In moderation, so.
The only thing I hate is I always end up in the ruins of New York, and then I'm like, someone has to save me from the polyps.
Fuck that.
Bryn, why don't you start with Feast of Hemlock?
Oh, yeah, okay, so I think this one is pretty much just like, it's new.
Yeah.
And that's probably like a large part of my appreciation for it is like
it's new and it's not awful.
It's a game that I haven't played like 100 times that I also am like, I could go back and do that again. Let's go fight that bear.
Yeah.
That bear's sick.
Yeah.
After Edge of the Earth and Scarlet Keys, it's just like a huge breath of fresh air.
Yeah, like Edge of the Earth, I mean, it's whatever, but Scarlet Keys is definitely like, I don't want to.
Yeah, like Edge of the Earth, I think I only lump in with her because it was followed by Scarlet Keys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Edge of the Earth, like, I don't really want to play it. Not really. But I'm not like...
Yeah. But, like,
nah.
You would if it, like, was, if we randomly spun a wheel without Scarlet Keys and it landed, you'd be like, all right,
if I show up and Justin's like, next draft challenge, Scarlet Keys, I'm like, I'm busy.
Yeah, you spin the wheel of Scarlet Keys on, I'm like, I cheat.
Yeah.
And just respin it.
Yeah. So, like, there is that. Like, it feels like it's pretty solid for replayability. Like, the second playthrough also felt, like, cool and new.
Yep.
So, that's good.
We did only replay one scenario.
Even if, like, Theo's easy as hell. Like, whatever.
It's definitely, like, the obvious plot thread.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably because he's like, I live on an island and there's, like, nobody else here. And you're like, oh, okay. Cool. So you've never spoken to anybody ever before. So I seem really cool, don't I?
There's 50 people on this island. I'm the only one who owns a vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like a whole thing. But it's still like it feels cool and new. And maybe it won't feel cool and new next year, but
I love them like right now.
Yeah. Right. Like, it's good right now.
Yep.
So
because that's for me too. Like this one it's like I said, it was my favorite blind play since like Dream Eaters, which is a pretty that's exciting for especially someone who plays as much Arkham as I do. I play too much Arkham. To get like that refreshing feeling of oh my god, I'm having like so much fun is like because when I looked back, I was like I enjoyed my Edge of the Earth blind run. I didn't enjoy Scarlet Keys, but then I look back and I'm like I didn't enjoy my Edge of the Earth blind run as much as I thought I did. Right, like this one was we set it up, we were reading the stuff, we were like joking about it, we were like having all these things like seeing all this stuff unravel was all exciting. I do agree that I think the preludes are gonna be an issue. Like, if we ran it back, like, right now, the preludes, I think, would be a big sticking point.
We already skipped through a bunch of them last time.
Yeah. But what I do like about the preludes in comparison to... Because it is just reading. The spike in me loves building my mulligan. I like winning, and it makes me win the next scenario, right? Like, I can just do that. But two is that it's reading that we get to talk in between, right? We get to, like, say stuff, and then, like, we get to, like...
something.
It's not just, like, a huge brick of text.
Yeah, but I do agree it could be, like, it'd be more interesting with... challenges. It definitely would be. I agree with your points there.
I find it's like kind of patronizing. They're like, oh, you said you wanted the story to happen during gameplay. This is technically gameplay.
I would say I would agree with that if it was the same head designer, but this is like a new designer who's like making the decisions.
You don't know how much influence they had on the last one.
No, I'm pretty confident. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty confident on that.
I still find it.
But the thing that I like the most about Hemlock Vale is that just all the scenarios are good. Like, every scenario has it's like Dream Eaters. They have a cool hook, and it's fun. Like, that's what I want from Arkham, right?
I do think that part of why we enjoyed the blind playthrough so much was also the player cards. Because we played with the player cards for the first time in addition to playing the campaign for the first time, which we didn't do for Scarlet Keys, I'm pretty sure.
Or Edge of the Earth.
Yeah, because they came out with such a huge time difference. And we also all got to play kind of novel deck archetypes, right? you got to play more Flexi Guardian, who messed around with tools. I played like actual paradoxical curses. I got to play a parlay deck. Like those aren't anything that we've seen before.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, on that note too, I do think the player card expansion for Feast of Hemlock Vale was nice because there was nothing that's like I swing the hammer, right? Like, or like I swing the runic axe, but like they were all cards that like enhanced the card pool without being like crazy.
Yeah, it was like an expansion. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to our number ones, which if you've been paying attention is all the
Oh,
same.
we did it.
We did it. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. For me, the thing that makes Path to Carcosa so good is Haster. He's my favorite old one, and that's like a big thing. Well, it'll be hard to beat this one for me. But number two is that the scenarios are fucking incredibly replayable due to small instances of randomization that like are just small enough to make a big deal. Like the catacombs. The way that the catacombs falls is different each time. How the locations are there, where you can find the things, all different. Like all just nice and simple. Which party guest flips over first is a huge determining factor for the threats that you're going to be facing, right? How many times Bryn gets retaliated by Big Butt Baby, right? Like all these little things.
Even in the first scenario, just like the little tiny variation of the one act where you're like, is the theater on fire? Is it filled with slime? Is it flooding? Like it makes the second half of that scenario, or like last third, I guess, about feels so different between each playthrough. Like even just talking about like, oh, that room's on fire or whatever.
Yeah, and
doesn't seem like much, but it matters.
And while the Phantom of Truth, where the organist is either chasing you or you're chasing him, I enjoy it less than I did previously. It still is, I think, such a success in design because it's actually incredibly difficult to have so little change between the encounter deck and still feel like a different sort of thing.
Yep.
And Din Carcosa, I actually like haven't won it the last 6 times I've played it, which is exciting, right? Like. And like the last time we played it, it was mostly due to greed. We didn't even get to the end, right? Like
yeah, that was a little unfortunate. But what can you do?
Yeah.
The
Play
base,
better? Nah.
Yeah.
the base Path to Carcosa is really good, and the Return to makes it even better somehow. I mean, I know how. It's like the small variation points again. For me, there's only one sort of. As I talked about the other thing. So for the Return to, easily my favorite addition to it is the little addition to the ending where you find out what Haster's actual identity is. I absolutely adore that, and it really ties together all the themes in the Path to Carcosa of self-doubt and madness and hysteria, all into like a nice little package, I guess. Like, it ties all the loose ends together so nicely and doesn't leave the story open-ended, but still... Like, it provides a satisfying conclusion to the story while still leaving it open to your interpretation in a way. Right? Just like every other part of the story. I will say, as we've said in the past, the only black spot in this campaign is it's objectively correct to burn the house down.
Oh yeah, to burn the party down. Yeah. The only time I
it's
don't,
so hard not to do that.
The only time I don't do it is if I've killed like 4 of the party members, and as long as that one surviving one doesn't show up in the asylum, like this, I'll change it just to live a new life. But yeah, otherwise, burn that place down.
Yeah, first scenario was go with Big Butt Baby. Second one, party's great. Third one is probably the weakest scenario of the campaign.
Yeah.
But still fine. And the 4, it's not like bad enough that, I mean, I had to think about what it was for a second, right? It's not like the one with the birds of Yog-Sothoth or Shanghai or... Yeah. Fourth one, the asylum's incredible.
The asylum is incredible.
Yes.
So much so that I often choose not to leave.
Honestly, to go on that point, this is something that like what I like about Carcosa and also Hemlock is that they have like a scenario 4. I was gonna say mid-campaign elimination point, but it's like a 4th scenario elimination point.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. Like, kill more of us. Kill us. Let us rebuild our decks. Like, punish us for losing. It's more exciting that way.
It's historically a very ARKHAM thing. I remember when we played Eldritch Horror regularly, we would, like,
keep track of how many people
Died,
died.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes we'd be like, wow, we've gone through 8 investigators this game, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of games where you'd be like,
Grinder.
I don't actually have any items that matter, so like,
Yeah.
let's
Big
go.
monster, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't kill me.
Yeah.
Try kill me.
Yeah, and then the transition from, like, the Asylum provides such a great turning point in the story, and the transition to going to Paris, especially with, like, the potential to die there. Like, they did a really good job narratively tying that together where, yes, you can die, and it's also a great point to restart in the story as well as from the campaign mechanically.
Yeah.
It was really neat to see them play with sanity the way that they did, where things care about if you have, like, the monsters that switch fight and evade based on how scared, like, how sane you are. Like, if you're low on sanity, you're terrified of them, right? They're big and scary. But if you're not, then you can just, you're like, that's just a guy.
Yeah.
Just a bird.
Yeah.
Oh look, a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The penultimate scenario ties in really well to the final scenario. Like the which one you get determines which part. It's such a, again, it's like those little details.
Yep.
And Path to Carcosa that make it feel so good.
Yeah, and then even like going back to The Last King, you interview the people at the party and they foreshadow the scenarios in like ways. Yeah, like there's just a lot of good stuff here.
And the last scenario was great too. The story cards are so good. Brendan, you just like the color yellow? Is that
Actually, no, it looks like cheese. I don't.
I like cheese.
Yeah, I can't digest like whey protein, so like,
that's tough.
it's
Yeah.
like-
Yeah.
I mean, sure, cheese is good, but it hurts way too bad for it to be worth it.
Yeah.
So
Fun fact about Path to Carcosa, it's also where we got the Doom Dice from.
It is, yeah.
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 I got them because they matched the campaign we were playing, and
Yeah.
they've been here
Yeah.
ever since.
Yeah, man.
yeah, we also got like a whole pile of extra sleeves for this one because the first time we played through it, Travis was like, "There's cards that get added to your, so
Yeah.
you have to play with black sleeves."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
And we did, and it was really fun.
it was,
pretty
yeah.
alright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that time I remember also you were playing when we did our all Seeker run? No, you were playing Carolyn. Our Leading Ladies run, I think that was. And you were like, these are my patients. I can't hurt them. And I was like, what the fuck is Travis talking about? I'm like, throw dynamite in there. You're like, they're my patients. And then I was like,
I
there's the
work here.
hidden card.
But also I work here.
Yeah, and it
I know
changes
these people.
things. Yeah. It's it does a lot of cool things because it makes you play differently, like you know, like you're going insane, and I think that's really cool. And it makes your other teammates like not trust you.
It gives you a lot of opportunities for fun narrative.
Yes, yeah, yes. I'm hoping we see hidden cards again soon. I think there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with them.
Yeah, it is. It is very much like the part of Mansion of Madness that I find cool, and that when you go insane, you get new rules that you have to play the game with that nobody else knows about.
Yeah.
So you have to start making choices that appear irrational to your teammates.
It's cool
Admittedly,
stuff.
like not quite so much in this game, because a lot of the time it is just like, well, I'll just throw it away, won't I?
Yeah, it's like this is only
But
movie-
sometimes you can't. Sometimes you don't have time.
Sometimes,
Sometimes it doesn't do anything
Yeah.
to you.
And then
Sometimes you're like, this is a future me problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, future
sometimes-
you, and you're like, oh, but
Sometimes
then,
you
like-
get one and you're like, I'm insane now, and you look at it and you're like, can't commit skill cards. Maybe I've always been insane.
yeah, and then there's
Maybe nothing has changed.
Yeah, and then there's some that are like they're like it ties to the epilogue, which I think is also really cool,
Yeah.
right? Like you're gonna start putting on the king in yellow if you win, and you had that one hitting card in your hand. It's just really cool. All right, well, that honestly, I was expecting like a 40-minute long video, but you guys got an hour and 20-minute video on a Thursday,
I'll
which is
love it.
crazy. But yeah, I hope you do enjoy it. As I said, we haven't done one of these since 2021, so like that's been a long time. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you very soon. Have a good one, and as always, a GG's.